On New Year's Eve, I was in the kitchen with the house staff, helping prepare the holiday dinner. My hands were busy, and my pregnant belly made it a bit hard to move around. The house was filled with warmth, laughter, and the comforting smells of food. That is, until Alex walked in, holding another woman's hand. She was also pregnant. The moment they entered, all the joy in the room vanished. Ignoring the puzzled looks from the housekeepers, Alex turned to them and said, "Go home and enjoy the holiday with your families. Come back after the new year." They were originally only supposed to stay until the meal was finished. But now, halfway through the preparations, they all left quietly. Once the house was empty, Alex pulled out a folder and laid a document in front of me. "It is a divorce agreement," he said. "Chloe is pregnant. I cannot let her child be born without a name or status. Let us get divorced first, and once the child has legal standing, we can remarry." I looked at the words printed on the page. No property division. I was to leave with nothing. A cold feeling spread through me. Alex added in a matter-of-fact tone, "Since we are going to remarry eventually, there is no need to go through the hassle of dividing assets." Chloe, sitting beside him, smiled smugly. "That is right, sister. Transferring assets and such is all too much trouble since you are getting back together anyway. Might as well skip all of that." She might as well have said it outright. I am the one who told him not to give you anything, and he listened. What a ridiculous excuse. Transferring property was too much trouble. If that were true, he could have just wired me the cash. A bank transfer would take 1 second. I smiled faintly. "You are quite considerate." Then, without hesitation, I signed my name. I stepped out of the villa with the divorce agreement in hand. Behind me, I heard Chloe's voice ask, "She is not going to do anything rash, is she?" Alex's response was calm and gentle. "No, she just needs time to think. She will be back soon." I did not leave, not because I did not want to, but because I needed to think about the baby, about the future. Everything we had was gone in a puff of smoke, like a dream fading with the morning light. In the cold silence of the yard, I asked myself, do I really want to keep this child? What if he grows up to inherit his father's shamelessness? I could not bear to spend my youth being driven to madness by Alex and then, in old age, watch my own son say those same vile things to his pregnant wife. Just the thought of it made me feel like I would die right then and there. No, some things, like personality traits, are not easily changed, and I was not going to test fate. I looked up. The guest room light on the second floor had been switched on. I could clearly see two overlapping shadows behind the curtain. I took a deep breath and went back inside. Upstairs, I locked the bedroom door, pulled out all my identification documents, and packed them into a small bag along with my bank cards, the jewelry I had bought for myself, and a set of clothes from before the pregnancy. I opened the window and tossed the bag down into the yard. Alex still had not come back to the room. Suddenly, locking the door felt pointless. I returned everything to its place, unlocked the door, and stepped outside, just in time to see Alex and Chloe emerging from the guest room. Chloe saw me and sneered. "Alex really knows you well. I was actually afraid you would run away." She was mocking me. She had stepped into our home, into my place. And I had still not left. "She has nowhere to go," Alex said, pushing her gently back inside, "and just get some rest." Then he turned to me and scolded, "Chloe usually goes to sleep around this time. She only came out to look for you. Please be more considerate." I said nothing. They returned to the guest room and shut the door. I went downstairs, picked up my bag from the yard, and walked toward the gate. Ride shares were not allowed inside the villa complex, so I had to walk out to the entrance. Luckily, I walked often, and the half-hour stroll did not tire me. It was still New Year's Eve. The hospital was quiet. The doctor in the emergency room looked me over, his eyes moving from my pale face to my rounded belly. "You are sure about this?" I took out the divorce agreement and handed it to him. "The child is already without a home today. His father brought another woman into the house and asked me to leave. She will be his stepmother, and I fear she will be the kind to wish him dead." Tears welled in my eyes. I have nothing now, no way to support a baby. It would be kinder to let him try for a better start elsewhere. The doctor paused when he saw the words, "No property division" on the document. He looked stunned. He sighed. You are already quite far along. We will need to perform the procedure manually. First, we will admit you and give you medication. I had already heard. At this stage, terminating a pregnancy is as painful as childbirth. But I was determined. Better to suffer now than spend the rest of my life being crushed by pain. I stayed in the hospital for 7 days. Then I moved into a postpartum recovery center for a full month. I was not as helpless as they thought. I was a designer by profession. I had once worked full-time in design. But after I got together with Alex, he insisted it was not proper for a company president's wife to be working. He preferred the image of a stay-at-home woman. So I resigned. But I quietly registered as a freelancer on several international platforms. I began accepting design projects from clients overseas. Over the years, I built a steady list of returning customers. They even referred new ones to me constantly. Thanks to the exchange rate, I earned far more than I used to. But to avoid Alex's criticism, I kept it all hidden. To this day, he still believes I was completely dependent on him. That was why he had no fear of treating me the way he did. I was not too proud to fight him, I just could not be bothered. Not long ago, the Anderson Corporation contacted my freelance account through a referral. Back then, I had actually planned to quote them a low price or even work for free. I had once imagined foolishly that if Alex ever discovered the world-class designer he was hiring was actually me, he might let me return to the field, but now none of that mattered anymore. After I was discharged from the postpartum care center, I received a call from Alex. His voice was as cold and direct as ever. So you have been hiding all this time? Is it because you are trying to avoid going to the registry office with me for the divorce? His words caught me off guard, but I had already anticipated where this conversation was going. And sure enough, his next line confirmed it. Too bad your little game was pointless. As long as I have the divorce agreement, I do not need you to be present to get the certificate. A moment later, I received 2 photos on my messaging app. One was of our signed divorce agreement. The other was a marriage certificate, his and Chloe's. Then came another message from him. Stop playing tricks with me. As long as you behave, I will still treat you well. I had no desire to reply. This is exactly why women need to have their own careers. If I had agreed to Alex's wishes and become a stay-at-home wife, I would probably be so devastated right now that I would consider jumping into a river. I sent him an address and told him to mail the divorce certificate there. It was the address of an old apartment I used to live in during college. I had not lived there in years, but these days delivery services rarely send packages directly to the door. They just leave everything at the local pickup station. Once I get the notification, I can go collect it myself. The last thing I wanted was to give Alex another chance to disgust me. Chloe had already tried multiple times to add me on social media. It was almost laughable. Why would I accept a request from a woman like her? After several persistent attempts, I blocked her completely. Then, she started sending me provocative text messages instead. I never opened them. I blocked her number right away. I ignored every notification, let her scream into the void all she wanted. While I was still at the care center, I had already applied for a new phone number. Once I received the divorce certificate, I would cancel the old one. I was not giving them a single opportunity to bother me again. Since Alex and I lived in the same city, it only took a day for the notification to arrive. I immediately went to the pickup station and collected the divorce certificate. Then I moved to a different city, Haicheng, by the sea. I bought a small villa near the water and began working as a remote freelance designer. Looking back now, I suppose Alex did serve a purpose after all. If it had not been for our relationship, I would never have registered as an online designer. I would not have grown into the internationally known creative I am today. All these years, I have dealt with clients online. I had no desire to change that now. I spent 2 days setting up the villa's garden as a peaceful workspace and got back to doing what I loved. Meanwhile, Alex was sitting in his office when his assistant came in and reported that Sarah Wallace had signed for the divorce certificate 2 days ago. That news made Alex uneasy. By all logic, Sarah should be panicking after seeing the certificate. She should be reaching out to him, asking for reconciliation. But there had not been a single message, not one call. It was as if she had vanished entirely from his life. Sarah had no source of income. All she took with her when she left were a few pieces of jewelry she had purchased herself. At most, those items might last her 2 months. It had been almost 2 months now, and she still had not applied for a job. Alex had already made arrangements. He had told his contacts in the jewelry industry to keep an eye out. If Sarah submitted a resume, they were to inform him immediately and reject her application. So far, nothing. This, Alex concluded, meant she had lost the confidence to work again. She had not reached out to any of her old friends either. Sooner or later, she would come back to him. He repeated this to himself, hoping to steady the growing anxiety in his chest. Chloe walked into his office carrying a lunchbox, her smile gentle and familiar. "Alex, I made you some lunch," she said sweetly. The sight of her, so caring and delicate, pushed Sarah from his mind for the moment. Chloe needed him. Once the baby was born, he would remarry Sarah, and surely she would forgive him. "Has your sister been doing well these days?" Chloe asked, her voice casual but probing. She wanted to know if Alex had contacted Sarah. Although she and Alex were now legally married, there was nothing real between them. With her pregnancy, she had been careful to avoid intimacy. If she initiated anything now, she risked ruining the image she had so carefully crafted in his mind. But if their relationship stayed stuck like this, the child might grow up without a father, and that was something she could not allow. That night, Alex drank heavily and stumbled home in a haze. Chloe saw that he could barely stand. She brought him a bowl of sober-up soup, though what she really handed him was a long-prepared tonic she called Tiger's Brew. She had been waiting for the right moment to use it. She thought the night would be her chance to finally be close to Alex. But as he lost himself in passion, she heard him whisper Sarah's name again and again. Her heart shattered. In her desperation, Chloe picked up her phone and took several photos. This time, she would create a real rift between Alex and Sarah. So what if Sarah never responded to her, never accepted her friend request? She could still find a way to deliver these images straight to Sarah's door. The next morning, Alex woke up with a pounding headache as the memories of the night before came flooding back. He was filled with guilt. "I went too far," he muttered. "Let me give you the design director position at the company. Consider it a form of apology." He rubbed his temples. His mind was fuzzy, and his guilt mixed with hangover made him skip his usual routine of driving Chloe to the office. Chloe, meanwhile, caressed her barely showing 3-month belly. Her thoughts were dark. "You want me to pretend last night never happened in exchange for a title?" "Dream on," she muttered under her breath. If Sarah was still living in the villa, Chloe might have already terminated the pregnancy and used it as an excuse to blame her. She hated her. Even after leaving, Sarah still occupied Alex's heart. Once upon a time, his heart belonged only to Chloe. If only she had known then what she knows now. The sound of waves filled the air as I started a new day of work. I had not checked my social media in a while. But today, a string of notifications kept lighting up my phone. Out of habit, I opened the app and instantly regretted it. What stared back at me were a series of photos that could make anyone blush. A man and a woman tangled in a passionate embrace, their love on full display. If the man had not been my ex-husband, the same man who had just begged to reconcile with me, I might have thought it was a beautiful romance. Beneath the photos was a smug comment. "Sarah, now that you are gone, stay gone. There is no place for you here anymore. I am now the creative director at Anderson Group. I am the one Alex truly loves." I had thought I would not be hurt, but when I saw that Chloe had become the creative director at Anderson Group, I actually heard my heart break. Alex had once admired my design talent. I had created several bestsellers for Anderson Group myself. I remember joking with him, "With skills like mine, do you think I could be the creative director at Anderson?" He had looked at me and said, "You went to a top university in the country, sure, but it is not enough. Our creative director must be an internationally renowned designer, someone with global influence." Chloe, her graduate thesis was practically done by me. She had nothing worth mentioning in her portfolio, and now she was creative director. It felt like a slap across the face. So the title did not require impressive credentials after all. You did not need global acclaim or design brilliance. Even a mediocre nobody could land the job. A tear slid down my cheek just as a cat jumped onto my desk. She circled around my laptop, then curled up beside it and drifted off to sleep like a queen claiming her territory. She was a beautiful creature, pure white with one golden eye and one blue. The locals called her White Gem. Though many knew her as a lucky cat, a bringer of fortune, she had wandered into my garden out of nowhere, and somehow her presence made me forget all the pain from earlier. I logged out of my account, deleted the app, and gently carried my laptop to the couch to start sketching again. The sunlight filtered in perfectly through the window. Life was beautiful. There was no need to waste another second on people who did not deserve my attention. Later, I received a message on my work account. It was from the head of Anderson Group. He said the collaborative project was now under the new director's supervision and asked me to add the new director on messaging. I declined. If they wanted to continue working with me, they could use the same contact. I also informed them that my design fees had now increased tenfold. The response was full of confusion. Have we done something to offend Miss Perler? They had no idea who I truly was. On international freelance platforms, I was known only as Pear. I replied, I receive too many requests now. To avoid unnecessary discussions, all new contracts start at 10 times the previous rate. Most of my clients were international, and they would never question it. If they did, I simply explained that loyal partners received the old rate. But since Anderson Group and I had not formally begun a contract, the new price applied. The other side fell silent for a long time. In the afternoon, I finally received a reply. The message was almost laughable. I am Chloe, the president's wife and current creative director at Anderson Group. If Miss Perler agrees to the old pricing, all future jewelry lines will be designed by you exclusively. You will never need to chase new business again. I replied, thank you, Mrs. President, but I raised my rates because there are too many clients. I do not need to worry about chasing business. By the way, did you not finish grade school? If your company lacks someone who understands design, then perhaps it is best we do not work together at all. On the other end, I saw the message bubble appear, but no reply ever came through. Chloe had purchased her degree, everyone knew, and nothing would pierce her pride more than suggesting she had no education at all. By 5 p.m., the cat was still fast asleep. I realized I had no cat food, so I called the property office to help find the owner. The staff arrived quickly. The cat's distinct appearance made it easy to identify. Most residents in our area kept large dogs, so the owner was quickly traced. It was my neighbor. Unfortunately, he was currently abroad. His housekeeper had left town for a family emergency. Leaving behind a stash of cat food in the kitchen before rushing off, the neighbor had asked me to watch the cat for a while. She had helped me today, so I agreed. I brought her over to his house only to discover he had 2 kitchens, and one was exclusively for the cat. Inside the refrigerator, there was more food for her than I kept for myself. Chicken, fish, organic vegetables, all perfectly portioned and arranged. Instructions for every meal were taped to the fridge, color-coded by time of day. After scrambling to prepare the cat's meal, I swore to myself I would never consider owning a pet again. Too much money, too much effort. After settling the cat into her personal room, yes, she had her own room, I returned to my own house, and for the first time, I felt that my once cozy villa seemed plain. Her room was a princess suite. Mine felt like a budget motel. In a fit of frustration, I picked up my tablet and drew even more sketches than usual. How could I let a cat live better than me? My life was running smoothly. At least it was until the neighbor's cat began making herself at home in my apartment. What started as the occasional visit had somehow turned into a full-time residency. Her owner, who had claimed she would be back to collect the cat in 3 days, had now been missing in action for over a week. Every night, I tried to return the cat to her rightful room. I worried she might not sleep well in mine, with its simple furnishings and lack of cozy corners. She seemed unimpressed with the minimalist decor. Meanwhile, on the work front, Chloe finally relented. She agreed to pay 10 times the usual design fee. I did not take the payment directly. Instead, I had her transfer it through the design platform, which would later deposit the funds into my account. That way, the platform's rules would protect me, especially the clause that prohibited clients from canceling payments once the final design was submitted. If Chloe tried to break the rules, the money would still be mine. When I received confirmation from the platform that the Anderson Group had completed the payment, I began working on the design based on Chloe's specifications. During the process, she made several bizarre requests clearly intended to make things difficult. I responded each time by reminding her that she lacked professional training and should consult the design department supervisor before contacting me. My responses frustrated her to no end. Chloe had studied design herself, but it was obvious she had no talent for it. Over the course of a week, not once, did she dare to claim the title of design director during our collaboration. This same title she had once flaunted proudly on social media. Now she would not even mention it. That alone revealed the depth of her insecurity. The WeChat account, which had once served our professional communication, had now become Chloe's personal outlet. Every day she posted photos of her life with Alex, sharing breakfast, making dinner, commuting together, painting the perfect picture of a loving couple. I muted her updates. I had seen enough. Alex, meanwhile, stared blankly at his phone screen, lost in thought. The last message in his chat with Sarah was dated New Year's Eve, 2 months ago. She had not contacted him since. By now, she was 7 months pregnant, likely struggling to move around. Suddenly, he found himself longing for the child he had never seen. And for a brief moment, he considered sending Sarah a message. But then, he pushed the thought down. Sarah had run away without a word. She had dared to disappear even while carrying his child. No, she needed to come back on her own and admit she was wrong. Chloe was so much more reasonable. She had never blamed him for that night. Unlike Sarah, who held on to every little grievance. Just then, Chloe walked in and saw Alex staring at his phone. She did not need to ask. She already knew it was Sarah's chat window. Chloe said softly, "Alex, has your sister contacted you? The way she behaves, so stubborn. If she keeps this up, it will set a terrible example for the baby." Her tone was gentle, but her words carried a sharp message. Alex must not yield. Sarah had to return willingly and admit her mistakes, or else there would be no peace in their home. Alex shut his phone and asked, "How is work going lately?" Chloe smiled. "We are now working with Pear. The new official designs we released have received amazing feedback. Fans are begging us to release them for sale. If the designer's price were not so steep, I would have asked her to design every new line." With future sales likely to be strong, Chloe would get all the credit as design director. In truth, she wanted to give everything to Pear, but the company's budget only allowed for part of the line to be outsourced. Curious, Alex opened the company's official site and looked at the latest images. For a moment, he froze. The style was unmistakable, elegant, spirited, full of taste, modern, and refined. It reminded him of the first time he met Sarah. Her designs had always carried that same feeling. He had been immediately drawn to her work and had purchased her designs without hesitation. If she had stayed in the industry, she would have become a top designer by now. Chloe, misinterpreting his silence as hesitation about the cost, leaned closer and said sweetly, "Alex, I have an idea. I wonder if you would be willing to help me." Alex looked at her and replied gently, "If it is something I can do, I will." Chloe's heart warmed. If only Sarah had never existed, she and Alex could have grown old together. "I was thinking," Chloe began, "since Pear is selling us the full design rights and does not require her name to be credited, what if I signed my name under those designs instead?" She quickly added, "It would be for the good of the company. If we can build a celebrity designer image, we can save on endorsement fees in the future. That budget could go toward more designs from Pear. It would be a win-win from a business perspective. Having a signature designer would indeed boost brand influence. And if that designer just happened to be the wife of the Anderson Group's president, it would be even better for sales." Chloe's goal was simple: bind her identity tightly to Alex's. If she became known as the first lady of the Anderson Group, it would be nearly impossible for him to divorce her later. She would not need to say anything. Once she was famous, people would naturally want to know more about her. At that point, she would quietly leak the news of her marriage to Alex. By then, the Anderson Group's reputation would be too entangled with hers to separate. Alex nodded. Thank you for your hard work, Chloe. If it is for the company, do whatever you think is best. I trust your judgment. He meant it. If Chloe could become famous, then even if they divorced, she would be able to live well on her own. Their motivations were different, but their end goals aligned. When I received the notification of a massive new order from the Anderson Group, I was stunned. Chloe was spending like the company's money meant nothing. She placed dozens of orders at once for every season of the upcoming year. It felt like I had just won the lottery 10 years in advance. Still, I messaged them right away. Dear Madam President, your order has been received. Please be reminded that once designs are submitted, the platform cannot issue refunds. Kindly confirm the order was not placed in error. After all, the total came to over $1 billion. I could not help but wonder if Alex had suffered a stroke. The events surrounding him no longer had anything to do with me. As for the Anderson Corporation's design project, I did not invest much heart into it. As long as the design met their technical requirements, that was good enough. They were not worthy of anything more. Soulful. Soon I received a reply from their side. The design has been approved by the company and payment has been made. Please deliver the drawings as soon as possible. I simply replied, okay. I was about to turn off my phone and dive into my sketching. Of the $10 billion offered for this project, $9 billion was clearly paid out of guilt. It was, more or less, my compensation for the divorce. All platform fees were covered by the client. I only needed to receive the full payment. Chloe was quite pleased with my work and did not nitpick, which meant I could work quickly and get paid sooner. Late that night, another message arrived. Pear, our company will list the designer as the president's wife for all your designs. Please make sure not to delay Anderson Corporation's progress. We have bought the full rights to your designs. I read the message the next morning at 7 o'clock. I replied with a simple, okay. I already knew these were for the Anderson Corporation, so I had only used about 10% of my usual creative energy. If they actually published these designs under my name, it would only tarnish my reputation. To speed up the process, I started by sketching ideas with pencil and paper. While I was buried in a mountain of drafts, that cat showed up again. Since I no longer bothered closing the door, it did not jump over the wall anymore. It simply walked in through the front entrance. I do not have time to play with you today, I said without looking up, my pencil scribbling steadily across the page. You will have to entertain yourself. Just then, a smooth and magnetic voice echoed through the yard. So, my beautiful neighbor is a jewelry designer. I looked up and was stunned. Standing there was an extraordinarily handsome man, even more attractive than the celebrities I used to admire. He was tall, perfectly built, and effortlessly elegant. The pen in my hand slipped and fell to the ground. He held the cat in his long, graceful arms, and the little creature looked unusually content in his embrace. Swallowing nervously, I replied, Yes, I draw things for a living. And you, handsome neighbor, what do you do? I run errands, he said with a smile, settling gracefully into the seat across from me. His long legs stretched out and filled my vision. Tall men truly are all legs. That smooth neckline of his? It was the kind of detail I used to dream about capturing in life drawing class. If only the art models I had studied in school looked even 1/10 as good as him, I would have mastered anatomical sketches in no time. Thank you for looking after Nyan while I was away, he said. Tomorrow we are throwing a birthday party. Just a small gathering of close friends. You should come if you are free. The way he spoke left no room for refusal, and since I had nothing on my schedule, I nodded. Our villas were private, each with its own yard, but his also included a stretch of private beach. Someone like him did not need more friends, and he was certainly not someone I wanted to offend. Sure, is there a dress code? I do not have any gowns. I did not bring much when I left Alex's place, just a few changes of clothes. He gave me a casual smile. Just wear whatever you feel comfortable in. These are old friends from childhood. That was when I learned he had left the country at the age of 10 and only recently returned. Tomorrow's gathering would be his first official event since coming back. He did not say much more, and I did not ask. We were neighbors, nothing more. To me, this villa was my one big purchase. To him, it was probably just a temporary stop. I understood perfectly well. We were not from the same world. He left with the cat in his arms. I closed the door behind them. Now that the cat's owner was back, it would not be wandering into my home anymore. I buried myself in work after that. That very evening, I submitted 5 new designs. Chloe responded faster than I had expected. To my surprise, she sent me a message not long after. I have already uploaded the designs to the official website, Miss Peer. Do not forget our agreement. I am the wife of the Anderson Corporation's president, not someone you can afford to offend. So that was her plan. She wanted fame fast. Still, the sooner I finished, the sooner I would be paid. I replied, understood. These designs were so basic, I would never dare sign my name to them. In the past, I would take half a month to develop one design, going through rounds of revisions and validations. Now, I had cranked out 5 in a day. The payment came through that same night, and I slept better than I had in weeks. The next morning, I was woken by the sound of a helicopter overhead. A guest had arrived next door, by air. I stayed home all day, nestled in my office, sketching. By evening, I had completed 10 more designs. They approved them immediately without even asking for changes. The order was confirmed online in minutes. I had never made money this easily before. Suddenly, I no longer disliked Chloe. She was no longer the cold and flawless white moonlight. She was my golden goose. In the past, one design brought me $1 million US. I typically only did 3 projects a year. Each design took at least a month, with several versions and revisions. Chloe, however, gave me 10 times the fee and accepted 15 designs within 2 days. If I submitted 5 more tomorrow, I would have made the full $10 billion. It was too good to be true. Even with the divorce, if Alex gave me $2 billion, it would be considered generous. Compared to that, this deal was a dream come true. The house next door was growing louder by the minute. There was a bonfire, twinkling string lights, and the scent of barbecue drifted into my room. I looked out the window and saw people dressed to the nines, chatting and laughing in the garden. I glanced down at my t-shirt and jeans, suddenly unsure if I should go over looking like this. As I stood hesitating, my neighbor appeared at the door, cradling his cat in his arms. "Daniel wanted me to check on you," he said with a relaxed smile. "You were not there yet." He was dressed casually in a comfortable outfit, which made my own clothes seem a little less out of place. I nodded, picked up my phone, and followed him across the yard. The moment we stepped into the party, a few guests turned and called out, "Hey, Daniel, is this your housekeeper?" I said quickly, cutting him off, because right then, I saw them, Alex and Chloe, standing among the guests, their expressions frozen in disbelief. The man beside me tensed. I tugged at his sleeve and added, "I work for Mr. Price. I help him take care of Nyan." As I spoke, I reached out and took the white cat from his arms. The cat rubbed against me affectionately before settling quietly in my arms. A little girl ran up, eyes wide and sparkling. "Can I pet the kitty? It would not let me earlier." I crouched down to her level and let her gently stroke Nyan, who remained perfectly still. The girl squealed with joy. "It let me pet it!" That small moment seemed to convince everyone that I really was just the housekeeper, even though I still did not know Daniel's full name. He recovered quickly from his surprise and turned to address the crowd. "Thank you all for coming out to such a remote place to welcome me home." The mood shifted back to cheerful, and I spent most of the evening surrounded by children, petting the cat, occasionally aware of Alex and Chloe's lingering stares. When the party wound down, most guests left by helicopter. A few stayed the night. Daniel's villa was huge, with plenty of empty rooms. To maintain the illusion, he arranged for me to stay in the servants' quarters. "If you need anything, just call me," he said, typing his number into my phone and saving it as Daniel Price. I thanked him and quietly locked the door behind me. I also secured the windows just in case. Late that night, there was a knock at my door. I pretended not to hear it. Then came Daniel's voice. "Alex, what are you doing here?" Alex replied, "Sorry, Dom, I must have taken the wrong turn." Silence fell again. The next morning, when I came downstairs, the other guests were gone. Only Alex and Chloe remained. Daniel sat on the sofa, reading a newspaper. I headed to the kitchen for something to eat. The thought of sharing a meal with Alex made my stomach turn. The staff were kind and brought me some eggs and milk. I did not feel like speaking to anyone, so I wandered off to find Nyan. As soon as the cat saw me, it leapt into my arms. "He really likes you," Daniel said, lowering his paper and watching us. "He never lets anyone else hold him, not even once." Suddenly, holding the cat felt like too much. Alex was staring at it like I had stolen something precious. "Alex," Daniel said sharply, "when are you heading back?" Alex's awkward gaze did not go unnoticed. "Busy lately," Daniel added. Chloe lifted her chin proudly. "Very. We just launched a whole new line. I'm managing most of the design department myself. It is exhausting. I told Alex we needed a break, so we came here to rest. I hope you do not mind." She smiled sweetly, trying her best to look generous. She was really putting on the act. What a shame she had not been born into a royal family. "Daniel, you do not mind, right?" she continued. "We grew up together. The sea here is beautiful. I want to go sailing today. Would your little housekeeper join us?" "No," I answered immediately. "I am afraid of water. I get anxious." Daniel finally put the newspaper back on the rack. "If Alex wants to go sailing, I will join him. The housekeeper only helps me with Nyan. She is not trained for anything else." "Exactly," Alex chimed in, as if on cue. "She cannot even cook." He seemed completely unaware of how inappropriate his words were. The three of them went out to sea. I returned to my own villa, locked every door and window, and finished 5 design drafts before sending them off around noon. Chloe was too busy playing outside with Alex to check them, and even if she did, she would not be able to tell good design from bad. As expected, I got a confirmation reply within seconds. "Okay." The platform verified everything, and my $10 million payment came through immediately. It was clear I could not stay here long. I had no interest in playing games with Alex. I rented a car and traveled around for 10 days, only returning when I was sure he had left Daniel's villa. "Thank you," I said simply. I handed Daniel a box of local treats I'd picked up during my trip. "Nyan missed you," he said with a smile. The white cat circled around me twice before I finally gave in and picked him up. "I missed you too," I whispered. "If you were not so expensive to keep, I would have adopted one just like you." As I was holding my cat and gently nuzzling it, I suddenly heard Alex's voice coming from behind me. "Sarah, you gave up being the wife of a CEO just to become a housemaid? What are you thinking? Why would you willingly lower yourself like this?" Several of the staff working in the garden froze, their expressions shifting awkwardly. I clenched my teeth. If I were not holding the cat, I would have slapped him across the face if he could. Not speak respectfully, he should have said nothing at all. I stood up, looked him straight in the eye, and said calmly, "Mr. Anderson, your wife is Chloe. As for me, I earn my living with honest work. I do not steal, I do not lie, and I have nothing to be ashamed of. I stand tall and live with dignity. Just like you, there is nothing lowly about hard work." Alex's face darkened. He exploded. "Sarah, did you just compare me to the household staff?" I let out a dry laugh and replied, "Mr. Anderson, in my eyes, you are not even as noble as they are. At least they would never abandon their own child to play father to someone else's. That kind of betrayal requires a truly rotten soul, and I know none of them would ever do such a thing. They care about their own children first." Alex's face turned ashen with fury. Behind him, soft sobbing began, and Chloe emerged, looking pale and pitiful. "Sarah, how could you say such things about Alex?" she whimpered. "He only stepped in for the sake of my child. He did not want the baby to be born without a father. He was just being kind." Her pregnant belly was now clearly visible. With her tear-stained cheeks and trembling voice, she looked heartbreakingly fragile. Alex turned on me again, his voice rising with rage. "You heartless woman! Do you have no compassion at all? You are so... He stammered in frustration. But then he finally noticed something. His eyes dropped to my flat belly. He charged over, grabbing my arm. "What? Where is my child?" I yanked my arm away in disgust. "Mr. Anderson, your child is right there." I said coldly, gesturing toward Chloe. Do not go looking for the wrong baby. I mean my child, he barked. Your child, I replied. Did you not already give up that child? You could not bear to let another child live without a father, but you had no problem letting your own become one. Do you think he would love you? He would grow up resenting you. Even in death, he would want nothing to do with you. Alex's eyes widened as he screamed, No! You gave birth already, did not you? You were supposed to deliver by now. He lunged forward, demanding to know where his child was. I slapped him hard across the face. Mr. Anderson, I said through gritted teeth, your child is gone. And if he had been born today, he would have been labeled an illegitimate child with no father. You made that choice. You abandoned him. Chloe swayed, then collapsed to the ground. I could not tell if she had fainted for real, but if she was faking, she picked the perfect moment. Your Chloe has fainted, I said with cold sarcasm. Your child might be in danger now, Mr. Anderson. I bit down hard on those last two words. Alex turned to see Chloe crumpled on the ground. He hesitated, then scooped her up and left. As I watched them walk away, I suddenly realized my face was soaked in tears. I had not even noticed them falling. And then a pair of strong arms wrapped around me. It is over now, a low, steady voice whispered. That voice came from Daniel Price. And with those simple words, all my buried pain came rushing out like a broken dam. Years of heartbreak and injustice overwhelmed me. I could not stop shaking. I wept uncontrollably until I finally cried myself to sleep. When I woke up, it was dark outside. I could hear voices downstairs, Alex's and Daniel's. I want to see her, Alex demanded. You should go home, Daniel replied calmly. She is my wife. You already have a new wife now. Please, Daniel, do not push me like this. Then do not push me either, Daniel said coldly. This is my house. You do not get to make a scene here. If you come back again, I will have no problem targeting Anderson Corporation. Or perhaps it is time your father chooses a new heir. After that, Alex said nothing more. I lay quietly in bed, surrounded by darkness. The sound of the ocean waves outside the window confirmed it was all real. I could not even lift my body. I drifted back into sleep. This time, I slept until noon the next day. When I finally got up, I noticed something odd in the way the house staff looked at me. Their expressions had changed. Then, I realized why. This was not the guest room. I had slept in the master bedroom. It was filled with men's clothes and belongings. Panicked, I quickly gathered my things and made my way downstairs, intending to leave. But Daniel called out to me. You should stay here for now, he said. Alex is not going to give up that easily. Focus on your work. When you have time, visit Anderson's grave. The staff soon brought in a full set of art supplies, along with a brand new, high-spec laptop, perfect for digital design. Daniel set me up in his study. His desk was enormous. I took the seat across from him, quietly beginning my sketches. Luckily, the computer monitor was large enough that I could avoid looking directly at him. He was busy with work all day, barely noticing my presence. Over time, my initial nervousness faded. I stopped thinking about him entirely and focused on my new designs. I had 2 clients overseas, longtime customers who had commissioned limited edition pieces. The designs had to be exceptional. Every detail mattered, and I intended to pour my whole heart into making them perfect. When the final proposal was complete, Daniel Price stood in front of the blueprints for a long time, quietly studying every detail. At last he asked in a calm voice, "Are you pair?" The question stunned me. I kept my expression neutral, but inside I was in disbelief. I never signed my name on design drafts. My style shifted often. How could he possibly recognize me? Daniel seemed to sense my confusion. With a gentle smile, he explained, Pear always weaves the letter P into her designs. It is your signature. This one hides it well, but it is still there. And honestly, in recent years, no one else has produced work this refined. He looked at me and asked, Do you also run a jewelry business? I nodded. Daniel pointed to one of the designs. If I am not mistaken, this one is for PMD in the United States. That is my company. It felt like being caught undressed in public. In all these years, no one had ever identified me before. The only exception was the batch I had submitted to Anderson Group. Those did not include my hidden mark. I wanted to deny it, but the blueprint had already been sent to PMD. I could only give an awkward smile and say, "So, you are the boss. If you are not satisfied with it, I can revise it." Daniel shook his head. "There is no need. You are the only designer my business partner has never once complained about." He said, "You are the only one who regularly delivers work that exceeds expectations and even offers free revisions just to make it better." His praise made me lower my head slightly, embarrassed. It was not modesty, just my stubborn pursuit of perfection. If something bore my name, it had to be flawless. If he knew how I had dealt with Anderson Group, he might not think so highly of me. I said, "It really depends on the company. If a company does not treat people right, I do not offer my best." Daniel smiled knowingly. "Like Anderson Group? I remember the first time I saw one of your drafts. It lacked the usual finesse. Later, I found out it was for them. They do not deserve good work." At that, I looked down in shame. When I divorced Alex, he tried to leave me with nothing, so I just gave him a little taste of revenge. Daniel let out a quiet laugh. He picked up the design I had done for PMD and said, "Then this one, let me keep it." And right there in front of me, he placed the drawing inside his office safe. I was speechless. Then, suddenly, Alex's voice blared from outside, distorted through a megaphone. "Sarah, give me back my child!" I had no idea what madness had come over him this time. I walked over to the window and saw Alex standing outside the villa gates, yelling into a loudspeaker. Several security guards were holding him back. In Daniel's study, I printed out the hospital's document confirming my miscarriage. Then I went downstairs. Alex quickly lowered the megaphone when he saw me. "Sarah," he said, "our child is still alive, right? Just give him back to me. Once Chloe gives birth and we register the child, I will remarry you. That way, our son can have a legitimate name." I approached the door slowly, my expression turning cold. Alex continued, "You are working as a maid now. You cannot even support yourself. You do not have the right to let my son suffer with you. If you do not give him to me, I will sue you in court." The folded document in my hand slipped into my pocket. I replied coolly, "Fine, go ahead, sue me. Let the court try to give you a child." Time had flown. Chloe was about 8 months pregnant now. And yet, here Alex was, shouting nonsense in front of my house. Chloe must have kept a close eye on him because she showed up just minutes later. Her hands cradled her belly. Though clearly exhausted, she still tried to play innocent. "Please, sister," she said, feigning concern, "give the child back to Alex. It is cruel to use a baby to control him. He has been so worried he cannot even sleep. I have had to handle all the company affairs. If you truly love him, you would do what is best for him, not wear him down like this." I stared at her, utterly baffled by her twisted logic. I could not help but laugh. "So you both know I cannot help anymore. And now you come running back like leeches. Do you even hear yourselves?" Chloe sniffed indignantly. "We are doing it for the child. He is just 3 months old, right? How can you be so heartless, letting him grow up without a father or a mother?" Alex glared at me with increasing hostility. "If anything happens to my son, I will never forgive you." I snapped. "Your son, Alex? Do you even hear yourself? You abandoned him, and now you come here playing the role of devoted father. Let me tell you something. Nothing is cheaper than belated affection. If you want a child so badly, go sue me in court. If the court grants you custody, I will hand him over, but I doubt they will. You are not fit to be a father." I turned around and walked back into the villa, ignoring the barking dogs outside. Later, I heard Chloe scream, followed by the roar of a car engine speeding away. One of the housekeepers rushed over, barely containing her excitement. "You will not believe what just happened, mister. Price had someone strike that woman. She bled on the spot." I did not feel the slightest bit of pity. In fact, it gave me a strange sense of relief. Alex rushed Chloe to the hospital. The doctor said her water had broken. She had to undergo an emergency C-section. At 8 months, the baby was premature. When the child was born, he was tiny and weak. He barely cried. He spent all his time inside an incubator. Alex stood in the hospital room, eyes fixed on the newborn in the crib. A sharp ache pierced his chest as he imagined his own child's birth, how it must have looked, how tiny and fragile the baby must have been. The last time he saw Sarah, she had already passed the first month of recovery, which meant the baby had arrived prematurely. He recalled what the doctor had once said about premature infants. Their first 6 months were critical. Without careful attention, the lack of security in those early months could affect them for a lifetime. His own child had not yet turned 6 months old. That thought alone was enough to unravel him. Unable to contain the turmoil in his heart, Alex drove to Daniel Price's estate. But this time, it was heavily guarded. Security had been tightened. Guards were stationed nearly a mile from the house, and he had no way of getting near. He waited all night outside, straining to hear any sign of a baby crying. There was only silence. His heart sank with horror. Sarah really had left the child somewhere, abandoned it. His child, who should have been raised with tenderness and love, was left to fend for itself like a wild seed growing between cracks in the pavement. Furious and panicked, he called Sarah. The moment she heard his voice, she hung up. When he tried again, he discovered he had been blocked. For the first time in his life, Alex felt truly helpless. Chloe called him just then. She needed help watching the baby. She was still recovering from her C-section and could not get out of bed. Alex returned to the hospital, but the moment he saw Chloe's child, he missed his own even more. The sight of such helplessness reminded him of the child he had lost. Eventually, he instructed his assistant to file for custody through the courts. He was confident that any rational court would grant the child to him. He had status, wealth, and resources. Sarah had nothing. To him, it seemed obvious who the better parent would be. When I received the call from the court, I froze. I never expected Alex would actually take legal action. "The child," I said. "The child he abandoned on New Year's Eve last year when he divorced me? The same child I was forced to lose? He wants custody now. Of what? I left with nothing. No home, no money, 5 months pregnant. How was I supposed to raise a baby alone?" The person on the line was clearly taken aback. I added the court official on messaging and sent over copies of our divorce certificate, the agreement, and the hospital's records of the miscarriage. Later, when I finally finished everything, I turned to find Daniel Price leaning against the doorway, deep in thought. He said nothing until I turned around. "When we were kids," Daniel said softly, "Chloe used to play with us. One day, Alex fell into the river. It was Chloe who jumped in and saved him. From that moment, something in him changed. He never learned to tell the difference between gratitude and love." His voice held no anger, just a tired kind of clarity. "But it no longer mattered to me. They already slept together," I said, recounting briefly what Chloe had shared. Daniel fell silent. After a long pause, he muttered, "Not every man is like that." While this was happening, Alex was busy learning how to make baby formula. If he was going to take care of his own child someday, he needed to be ready. Just then, his phone rang. It was the court official. "What?" he whispered. The can of formula in his hand slipped, spilling white powder across the floor. "Mr. Anderson," the official said, "your child was lost last New Year's Eve. Miss Wallace had the pregnancy terminated at the First People's Hospital in Beijing. I personally confirmed this with the attending doctor. She had no income, no job, no one to turn to. She was 5 months along. You threw her out with nothing. What did you think would happen?" Even the official could not contain his frustration. After speaking to the doctor, he was furious. Alex was stunned. He thought Sarah had been lying. But the pain in the official's voice, the raw detail, it all hit him like a punch to the chest. The court official gave him the doctor's number. Alex dialed. The voice on the other end said sharply, "Are you the Alex who divorced a 5 months pregnant woman on New Year's Eve last year? Sarah was her name?" Alex's voice cracked. Doctor, she did not go through with it, right? The doctor snapped. What was she supposed to do? Wander the streets with a pregnant belly, beg for food? It has been 8 months. That child is long gone. You want to ask about it now? Maybe check again in 30 years. By then, your child might be on their third life, if they are lucky enough not to meet another father like you. Alex's head buzzed with static. He could not believe it. Sarah had wanted that child more than anything. She would never do this. It had to be a lie. Doctor, are you and Sarah lying to me together? The doctor was furious. You are insane. I do not even know your wife. Do not call me again, you heartless man. Then the line went dead. A sharp pain shot through Alex's chest and blood spilled from his lips. He collapsed on the floor. When he opened his eyes again, he was lying in a hospital bed. He tried to call Sarah, tried to tell her that he was sorry, that he never meant for any of it to happen, but her number would not go through. He dragged his weak body back to Daniel Price's villa. I sat by the window watching the rain fall. My recent projects were done, and I had planned to take some time to rest. Suddenly, I noticed someone kneeling out in the rain. Tilting my head, I squinted to see more clearly. Who was that lunatic kneeling on the main road in the middle of a storm? Daniel came up the stairs and found me staring from the balcony. That is Alex, he said, watching my face closely, waiting for a reaction. I turned away, bored. I was wondering which idiot would kneel in the rain like that. Not even a little sympathy. Sympathy for a man who rejected his own child to raise someone else's? You must be joking. I leaned back in my chair, thinking to myself how much longer this drama would last. I could not live in Daniel's house forever. There is actually a simple way to get rid of him, Daniel said. That caught my attention. I turned to him, eyes shining. What way? He knelt beside my chair, placing his hands on the arms of it, gently trapping me in place. Marry me. I blinked, then scoffed. Forget it. We are from different worlds. I am not jumping into the same pit twice. I can transfer all my assets to your name first, and I have no interest in raising someone else's child. I leaned back, eyeing him wearily. Who knows? Maybe you like men. He chuckled, then leaned in and kissed my forehead. I will prove with time, he whispered, that I like women and only you. I opened my mouth to reply, but before I could say a word, I saw Alex collapse in the distance. One of Daniel's bodyguards calmly lowered his binoculars and stepped back. I stared in silence. I spent the rest of my days quietly in the garden, sketching, tending to flowers, and keeping myself blissfully removed from everything beyond these walls. Then, one afternoon, Daniel Price brought news. He told me Alex had been sick for over a month since returning after officially registering Chloe's child. Alex had gone against her objections and taken her to the civil affairs office to finalize the divorce. Seeing I had no reaction, Daniel hesitated before adding, Alex is outside. He has strapped explosives to himself. Would you like to see him? Standing once again at the gate of Daniel Price's villa, facing Alex like this, I felt absolutely nothing. Alex stood before me with explosives wrapped around his body, a remote control trembling in his hand. He pleaded, his voice shaking. Sarah, can we get back together? I swear, I did not mean for any of this to happen. I love you. You know I do. Chloe, I was just helping her. Without a word, I tossed a handful of printed photos at his feet. They were the explicit ones Chloe had sent me, the ones she had taken with Alex before I deleted my social media accounts. I had forced myself to save those disgusting pictures just in case. Alex looked down at the photos. His face turned ghostly pale. Sarah, please let me explain, he said weakly. I thought it was you. I had been drinking that night. His excuses felt thin and meaningless. I did not bother to listen further. Alex, I said calmly, you are tainted. Ever since I lost the baby, there has been no way back for us. At those words, he tightened his grip on the remote, eyes wild. I am not tainted, he cried. You could sleep with someone else, too. We would be even. We could have another baby. If you do not want to carry one, we could go abroad and find someone to help. Anything. I will agree to anything. Just stay with me. I cannot lose you. I did not understand my feelings before, but now I do. I was confused. Chloe was just someone who helped me during a dark time. I mistook gratitude for love. Before he could continue, one of Daniel's bodyguards quickly seized the remote from his hand. I exhaled, finally allowing myself a moment of relief. For a second, I had truly feared he would destroy my entire home. And come to think of it, I was not even sure if I had renewed my homeowner's insurance. I looked at Alex and said coldly, "If you keep clinging to me like this, I will just marry someone else." Daniel had been right. Marriage was probably the cleanest way to end Alex's obsession. "Sarah, are you saying yes to my proposal?" Daniel stepped forward, quickly planted a soft kiss on my forehead, and pulled me into his arms. I had not really meant it that way, but if pretending for a moment could drive Alex away, then so be it. Alex's eyes widened in shock, and a moment later he collapsed. The bodyguards rushed in and carefully removed the explosives from his body. I let out a long breath. It was over for now. "Sarah," Daniel asked with a soft smile, "did you just say yes to my proposal?" "Why?" I asked, caught off guard. "We barely know each other," he chuckled. "That day I saw you in the garden, painting under the sunlight while holding little Nyan. You looked exactly like the woman I have dreamed of for years. I have spent so long searching for Pear, the artist whose work once healed me." I blinked, surprised. Then I remembered. Years ago, the head of a company had asked for some of my sketches, along with each project submission. I would casually send them a few extra illustrations as a gift. Daniel led me to a small room, opened a cabinet like he was unveiling a treasure, and carefully pulled out those very sketches I had given away long ago. "These," he said proudly, "are my collection." "But what if I turn out to be an old woman?" I teased, raising an eyebrow. Then Daniel grinned. "I will respectfully call you Grandma."